Welcome to this edition of In-Depth Alaska. I'm Tracy Sinclair. On February 18th, Gus Schumacher from Anchorage, Alaska, won a silver medal in cross-country skiing at the Milan Cortina Olympics. We sat down with the gold medalist from Alaska, Kikkan Randall, who won her medal in 2018 in cross-country skiing. We wanted to get her reaction. Joey Kletka, our digital content manager, started off asking for Kikkan's reaction.
I am still jittering with excitement. That was an exciting call, an exciting race. Kind of knew going into it that those guys had an absolute shot at a medal. But I think what surprised me the most is how aggressive and just commanding they skied in that race. It was gutsy, but it was backed up with strength, and just absolutely so happy for those guys.
Just as far as the kind of strategy or tactics that played out, can you explain what you saw?
Well, the team sprint is a really interesting format because in order to make the finals, the athletes have to go and do an individual time trial around the course. And Ben and Gus's time combined, they were the fastest qualifying team. So that was already like a good sign that they were both feeling good, the skis were good, but you also don't want to rest on your laurels. So we get into the heats, and some teams had put skiers on the first leg that are actually better at longer distance. And that's because of the duration of the multiple efforts. And so we expected that there were a couple skiers in there who aren't very good sprinters, but we thought they might push the pace from the very beginning. And right away, the US team was just kind of right up front and right in there. And then going into the second lap, it was like, okay, those distance skiers for sure are going to go for it. And instead, it was Ben Ogden leading the charge, and Gus was right in there. Then over the course of the race, you had several tag zones, and a lot of the teams were kind of going in the left side of the zone, which was the best line. But because all the teams were going that way, it was creating a lot of congestion. There were some broken poles. The US guys every time went out to the outside, had really smooth tags, and then got right where they needed to be. So that was like really smart tactics. And then going into the last lap, man, Ben just went for it, and he was leading up the course's big climb. Norway only slipstreamed past him on the downhill, but he put Gus in just a perfect position. So then on that final lap, they headed out, and Johannes Klæbo, now the greatest Winter Olympian of all time, was leading it out, but like Gus went with him. And that put Italy on their heels, Switzerland on their heels, Sweden kind of started to go backwards. And then Italy kind of got back into connection with Gus, but when Klæbo went for his big gear on the climb, Gus looked like he was going to match him for the first few strides and just skied so powerful up that hill. And so it put Federico Pellegrino, like twice silver medalist in sprint, one of the best sprinters in the sport besides Klæbo, just he couldn't hang with Gus. And then Gus just power skated all the way in. So it just those guys were like literally making moves that made the race. And yeah, Italy or Norway won, but I think it was USA that really made it exciting.
Yeah, I know that's when you talk about that, there's that one hill, especially on the last lap with Klæbo going up that hill. He's kind of obviously that last week when that video went viral of him basically running up the hill. I mean, that's kind of the image people think of their mind of how is Gus going to keep up with that? But it seems like he at least he had a great attempt at that, huh?
He did. I mean, Club was still pulled away, but he didn't pull away as fast as he did in some of the other competitions. So I think that was really important to see, like, kind of Gus match him. And two, just the way he went out kind of after him. It's not like, oh, that's Klæbo, I'm just going to let him go and fight for the silver. Gus was kind of like, no, let me see if I can hang. And I think you started to see that 3 weeks ago when Gus finished second to Klæbo in a sprint in Gomes. It was kind of like, oh, I can keep close to this guy. And if he keeps hitting at it and these guys keep racing like this, eventually they can challenge Klæbo for the win.
Put this silver medal into perspective, at least, especially for Alaskans, because obviously you won gold in this event in 2018. I know there's been, obviously the U.S. has been coming up, but just for those here in Anchorage and Alaska, like how big a moment is this for with Gus doing it?
I mean, this is huge. We talk about how the Olympics is the pinnacle when everybody is trying to be at their absolute best uh, within a 4-year period. And, Gus has had some success on World Cup, and that's been amazing to see. He's been part of this team of men that have really been building, I would say, over the last 8 years. We started to see progress at the World Junior level and then just been incrementally up. So we came into this Olympics knowing that, like, oh man, the US guys could be in the hunt, but to deliver it at the Olympics, that's a big deal. And so to see the silver medal today, for me, just puts a stamp on it. Like, these guys are for real. And this is just the beginning for them. I mean, I think this is the first Olympics where they're starting to get that nice time period of training and experience under their belt, but they're going to keep improving. And I think what was really important is, like, when we won the gold medal 8 years ago, those guys were just coming out of the World Junior level. And so now when they entered World Cup and senior racing, it's kind of like, oh, American skiers can be successful. And I think what makes me so excited and so proud right now is this silver medal that Gus is going to bring home to Alaska is now setting the stage for the whole next generation. And we have to remember that until Ben's silver medal a week ago, it had been 50 years since a U.S. man had won an Olympic medal. And now in the span of a week, we have two medals, or I guess you can almost say three. And so that's huge, and I think, it took 50 years, and then all of a sudden it's going to start happening sooner and sooner, because that power of belief is really important. And I think to the system, you can say we have a system now because there's been multiple medals, and that's, really encouraging for our skiers. What I love about Gus's story is I got to talk to him before the season, and we were talking about, the Anchorage trails and how he grew up in Anchorage, and he was talking about being a junior Nordic kid, watching the high school skiers go by and kind of going, I want to be like that someday, because the high school skiers were the pinnacle at that point, and then he's built up. And so we have to keep that culture strong in Anchorage, use Gus's medal as inspiration so that we can create, future generations of more Olympic medalists, hopefully, but also just a really strong community that believes in healthy outdoor activity.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did want to get your thoughts about this. This is a slight deviation, but obviously in the news here in Anchorage and Alaska, there's been talk about Anchorage School District budget and athletic sports programs being cut. Obviously middle school sports, but also some high school sports. And so I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about how important some of these youth programs are in high school, and even like we talked about Alaska Winter Stars and some of these other programs. Like, just kind of like the importance of having these in place when you look at someone like this.
I can guarantee you, for me personally, I wouldn't be where I am today with a gold medal in my hand if it had not been for middle school and high school skiing. Because I was a multi-sport athlete. I loved doing sports of all kinds, and I was a downhill racer. But you know what? I followed my running friends into cross-country skiing, and I did it as a high school sport initially, and then discovered that I had this strength, and I really enjoyed it, and I saw this future in it, and then kind of got involved with the club later on. But without that introduction in school, I don't think I would have discovered it. And then two, I think what's so cool is you have athletes like Gus Schumacher, who state ski meister, goes on to be an Olympic medalist, but he's now on a high school team with kids who are learning to ski. And so that kind of shared passion for skiing, inspired by where it can take you competitively, but just building a healthy lifetime activity, that's something that cross country skiing has unique on almost every other sport. How many football players do you see still playing football 20 years later? How many cross country skiers? A lot, and that's such a key part of our community. And I know for a fact that if you remove middle school skiing and high school skiing, you're going to lose so many potential kids who could be on the competitive track, but more importantly, could discover a healthy lifetime activity and then become future contributors to the community. Discovering skiing and finding a joy to have on a winter activity like that could mean that they stay in Anchorage. So my heart goes out to the school board. It's so sad that we found ourselves in this situation where money is so tight, but I think cutting skiing specifically is the worst decision we can make for our city, for our community. The club system, there is one, but it can never support all the people that are getting into the sport right now in middle school and high school skiing. And if we need to tighten our belts with sports and make this happen, then we are ready to come to the table and help as a ski community. But we can't lose this connection in the schools. It will be devastating to our community. And I'm living proof, Gus is living proof, and we've got future Kikkans and Gus's, and we got to support them and we got to support all the kids who, need a healthy winter activity. There's no replacement.
Going back and get back to again this moment we had today with the Olympics. First of all, I heard you had I don't know if you're doing more media regarding this today, but I heard you have your gold from 2018 around.
It's an Irma.
I do.
If you can show that to us.
I've got it right here. It's
Oh no.
see.
The green screen is
If I hold it
leaking
right here,
out.
there you go. Now you can see it. Yeah, here's the gold medal from 2018, and yeah, it's so exciting. It's funny. I was comparing stories with the curling gold medalist from 2018, who was here in the building with me, and we were talking about how tattered our medals are looking these days because we've had the joy of sharing them with so many people, and how worth it is. And I'm so excited to think about another medal coming back home to Anchorage. And, I've got a 9-year-old son who has Gus's posters all over the wall. I've got a daughter who's, coming up, and now they're going to be looking up to these awesome champions and like I said, believing that's possible. So it's incredible. And I'm glad we have an official collection now.
Yeah, really. Your son really has Gus Schumacher posters?
He does. He has several. And we've got them up we've got some up in our garage, and we've got Luke Jagger and Xander McMullen and JC Schoonmaker. I mean, like, the powerhouse of great role models we have in Anchorage right now because we are a beacon for skiing. I don't know that if my kids will decide to go on and pursue competitive sports, but they've got really good role models to look up to. And in my daughter's room, we've got a poster of Rosie Brennan right now. So yeah, just it's so awesome to see. And my son gets speechless when Gus walks by. Like, he's just so excited. He's got the cow print hat that he wears because he wants to be like Gus.
Yeah, where did that come from, the cow print hat?
Well, a company called Skita has been sponsoring U.S. ski team headwear for a few years, and Gus has been involved with Protect Our Winters, and I think for him that the cow print kind of spoke to the kind of the contrast of what's going on with climate change right now, and it kind of became his signature thing, and it's really taken off. So it's kind of fun to have something that you're known for like that, and I love seeing a lot of it around Anchorage. I saw that his mom Amy was in her cow print hat at the race in Val di Fiemme. And she had her red, white, and blue NSA neck gaiter on. So yeah, I'm so happy there's so many Alaskans over there cheering Gus on. And the whole team. We have 8 Alaskans representing us on the Olympic team, and that's half the team. So Gus's performance is, probably the most visible, but it's really been a lot of great efforts from the team.
Yeah, and another thing that the Americans do is the relay socks, right? Did they have the relay socks on?
The women had the relay socks on today, and they're actually still the original pairs that I bought in a German convenience store in 2012. Jesse's been taking very good care of them. Look, the guys wore relay socks in the 4x relay, but looks like they didn't wear them today. But still, I'm sure they had some sort of special tradition in there. Maybe we'll find out more later what it is.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens there. There's always great traditions that come out of that. One more thing I wanted to ask you about, and again, deviating, but like I was here listening to a report about Olympians getting paid by their countries, and some Olympians do get paid, or some countries do pay their Olympians, some others don't. There's varying levels of how much they get paid, I guess, and I'm just again learning this, but do you know anything about how that works in the US, and I'm just wondering if you got paid.
I did get a gold medal bonus. They pay a bonus out to all the medalists. I don't know what the current rates are. I do know that your bonus payment is taxed, and that was something for a while they were talking about trying to make a provision where if you are get this bonus for representing your country, maybe that's tax exempt. But no, it's a really nice little treat, little incentive and carrot that go for the athletes when they deliver on the world's biggest stage, because those performances pay dividends for the U.S. ski team, the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So it's really well deserved.
All right. Is there anything else? I mean, I know, again, a lot of excitement. It's so cool to see one of our own Alaskans bring home an Olympic medal. So anything else you feel like this weighing on your mind or that you want to talk about?
Well, I think what was kind of cool about Gus's season is that he was able to be here in Alaska training. We got the snowmaking system up and running early, and we had some luck with some early snow. So I think having good preparation here in Alaska before the season started was a great way to set off on the right foot. But then Gus made kind of a big move to come back to Alaska for about 2 weeks, mid-season, right after the Tour de Ski, to rest and recover. I got a chance to ski with him for half an hour, just kind of check in, and and here he's coming into the games with like this great energy. So just kind of a nice nod to the power of the skiing we have at home to propel our athletes on the world's biggest stage.
Absolutely. No, it's so exciting.
And I guess just the one other thing I want to say is just what a kind, humble guy that Gus is, and Ben as well. And so not only are they going to, be great role models in terms of what they achieved today, but, they've handled themselves so well. They're great ambassadors for the sport, and that also makes me really proud, and I think should make Alaska proud.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and I suppose, Gus, what is he, 25 years old, I believe?
Yeah.
I think is his age. So he could, I mean, again, assuming he wants to keep doing this and coming back to the Olympics, I mean, he could do this another 2, maybe 3 Olympics. I don't know if the ages work out on that, but that's,
I mean,
who knows what he's-
my 2 best Olympics were at 31 and 35. So he's, he'll be 29 in 2030 and 34 in or 33 in 2034 in Salt Lake, at a home game. So I think the best years of Gus's career are ahead of him. And like I said, there's an amazing group of men that's training alongside him, and women as well. So I think it's going to be a really fun next 4 and 8 years.
Absolutely. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting.
Okay. One more thing.
Okay.
I got to be on site in Minneapolis when Gus was like completely unknown and came and won the race in front of that Minneapolis crowd. And I remember thinking back then, like, wow, Gus is really on the right trajectory here. What if we could get a World Cup in Anchorage? And I think this excitement around the silver medal today really just, I think, will invigorate our ski community to look into making that a reality, because how cool would it be if we could have a World Cup and see Gus compete at home?
Yeah, like a World Cup weekend you're talking about, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So the end of the World Cup season this year will be in Lake Placid. It's partly because it's Jessie's last World Cup weekend, so they're kind of doing it as a big send off for her. But it means that USA is now almost eligible to get on the World Cup calendar every 2 years. And so I think it may take us a few years to get a plan together, but there's a real possibility that Anchorage could host a World Cup in, maybe 2030, 2032, something like that. And I think it would be absolutely incredible to, really put Anchorage on the map and again, showcase one of our sport's best athletes.
That is exciting. I wasn't even aware that there was a push to do that. That's so cool. I hope that happens. I guess that would probably, where do you think that would happen? Kincaid, probably?
Kincaid is most well suited because if you're going to host a World Cup, you have to have a lot of infrastructure guaranteed, snowmaking capabilities. And right now, Kincaid is the only spot. But if we are going to be serious about a World Cup someday, there are investments we're going to need to make. The good news is, if we make those investments to host a World Cup in Anchorage, that benefits our community every year, year round. It would, that would go all the way down to helping more of our local residents get into the sport. It could raise our profile for winter tourism, which we know is an area of opportunity to grow, all the way up to our elite training levels. So we've already been talking about some of those things, but when you get an infusion of inspiration like this, that kicks that planning into a whole nother gear.
We'd like to thank Kikkan Randall for sitting down with us, and we'd like to thank you for listening to In Depth Alaska. Please like and follow this podcast.